everyone who can't sit to socially distance on the outskirts and outside of the tent, please. All right, thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael O'Brien. I'm Executive Vice President with Wind Companies, and I'm very humbled to be your MC for today's milestone. It's now my pleasure to introduce a champion for the City of Springfield, a true corporate citizen, and I know as a believer in this city and its renewal. And our partner at 1331 Elm Street here at Court Square. It's my pleasure to welcome and come forward Peter Picknelli of Opal Real Estate and Chairman of Peter Pan Bus Line.
I always have to lower these things, which is unfortunate. Wow, what a great day. I often tell people that if I'm going to battle, I want Mike O'Brien with me. No one has worked harder on this project than Mike O'Brien, so he's been a great partner. The only word that can describe this project is tenacity. Unbelievably, my dad started this project almost 25 years ago. He knew then that Springfield could not see its full potential with this building being abandoned in decay in its center core. But for the tenacity of so many people and groups, we would not be here today. If not for Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito and their support and commitment for Springfield and state resources needed for this project, we would not be here today. If not for Congressman Neal and the much needed historic tax credits for this building, we would not be here today. If not for our great mayor's relentless effort, removing obstacles over obstacles over obstacles to get us here today, we would not be here today. Without MGM's commitment financially, without Mass Mutual's generosity, we would not be here today. If not for Mike Fenton and the Springfield City Council, the SRA board, and the support of the labor unions, we would not be here today. If not for Mike Crowley and our partner Wind Development, led by Larry Curtis and Mike O'Brien, with over 100 historic renovations in their portfolio and decades of experience renovating buildings just like this, we would not be here today. But the good news is, no, the great news is this building will be renovated, And soon this area will be very, very vibrant with people living here, socializing here, having dinner here. This building in this area will come alive. It's a great day for Springfield, and I'm very proud to be part of it.
Well, Peter touched on everything. That's the conclusion of our program. And thank you all for being here. But thank you so much, Peter. Honestly, as you noted, Peter Sr. And you have worked for decades to bring this beautiful building back to life. That certainly defines tenacity. And it's a great tribute to your father that we're here today and talking about this project moving forward. I do want to recognize Mike Crowley. Mike, all the way. Mike Crowley with Peter's Opal Real Estate Division worked side by side with me throughout my 6 years in the project. And there's much credit for what we have here today. So a round of applause for Mike. And you heard it here, right? Peter just told you the secret. Andy, where are you, Andy? Andy, his restaurateur partner and a restaurant extraordinaire, so Peter's partner in the restaurant business. They're looking right now at 1331 Elm for their next adventure. And even though it's exploratory, we're excited at what that would mean for here in downtown and here at Court Square. So not only a partner, but definitely advance the project. So as Peter mentioned, it's an exciting announcement that 3 to 7 and 1331 Elm are now ready in our code. No longer a dream that waited nearly 30 years to happen, but a reality. It will happen through that unprecedented public-private partnership across government and the corporate sectors, all working side by side, hand in glove with one goal, to bring her 1331 Elm back to her former glory. This iconic beauty at Court Square, it really is a gem in the rough, and we're excited. The next gentleman needs no introduction, really. A leader that sets the bar high, he makes the tough calls, the buck stops with him, and he works tirelessly to improve our lives here and throughout the Commonwealth. He's done an amazing job with his team to keep us healthy, safe, and well during the age of COVID-19. I think that deserves a round of applause. Hands-on, intuitive, and a great listener, working closely with the Lieutenant Governor and his cabinet, and his direct collaboration with Mayor Sarno on the city's priorities, as well as his personal desire to see 1331 happen once and for all, is what makes him the best ever. It is my pleasure to introduce the Governor of our Commonwealth, Charlie Baker.
Thank you very much, Mike. And let me just say to you and the team at WIN, I can't think of a better partner in a project like this. Having been in and out of numerous redevelopments over the course of the past 5 or 6 years with Lieutenant Governor Polito, we have seen firsthand, time and time again, not just the expertise that WIN brings to the redevelopment of some of the truly cherished properties that sat fallow for so many years around the Commonwealth, but it's the creativity and imagination and the can-do attitude that WIN brings to this that makes me so sure that this project will live up to everybody's high expectations and then some by the time that it's done. You know, I can't tell you how many times Mayor Sarno just climbed up one side of me and then the Lieutenant Governor down again about this project. And the really funny part about it was he pretty much had us at hello, okay? We thought this project was a real opportunity pretty much from the first time he spoke to us about it. But it's pretty clear that when you have a situation like this where a building has sat vacant for this long, there's a certain amount of resignation that takes place. People just stop thinking anything can ever happen there. And the reason they think that is because for a really long time, nothing does. And then you start to worry about what the impact of year after year after year of nobody maintaining or loving the property, what that means with respect to the bones of the structure and all the rest, and how much is it going to cost, and how can we ever figure it out, and how do you ever pencil it in a way that ever comes up with something that could worked. And I think that's where you truly do need, as Peter Pignelli put it, a community effort. You don't get here if you don't have Congressman Neal working the historic tax credits. You don't get here if you don't have the city being willing to constantly rethink roles, responsibilities, rules, standards, protocols, and all the rest. You don't get there if you don't have the labor unions willing to step up and help you figure it out. You don't get there if you don't have local businesses like Mass Mutual and like Opal and like so many of the others who stepped up to make this happen. And you don't get there if you don't have a Commonwealth of Mass that believes in this project, believes in the people who are part of this project, and believes in the people of Springfield to follow through and get it done and make it happen. This is one of the largest investments we've made in a project of this kind. And honestly, we think it's a bargain. When we look at what the potential for this area, this city, and especially this project, this is going to be, there's no doubt in my mind that people are going to, whatever your expectations are today, you're going to come back when this thing is done, and you are going to literally jaw drop when we see what's been accomplished with the rebuild of this particular building. And this is the kind of day, the kind of project that in the midst of all the pain and misery, there's been a lot of it that comes with COVID. We all have a chance to sort of express some joy and some hope and some opportunity and possibility about something that people have been working on for decades. And the final thing I just want to say to the mayor, you guys are green today on COVID. Honestly, that does not happen unless you have a community that's rowing in the same direction, where everybody's doing the things they need to do to keep people safe. And to the city council, and to the mayor, and to your teams, and to your public health folks, but especially to the people of Springfield, I just want to say congratulations to you. And I really hope that today is the beginning, or the continuance, I should say, of a whole series of very significant positive developments in this community. There's been a little bit of an interruption that came with COVID, which has affected all of us in so many ways. But I absolutely do believe that while everybody talks about Springfield's history, Springfield has great days ahead of it, and today's just one more example of that.
Thank you, Governor, and I'm going on record saying, I love you, man. He is the best. I would be remiss if I didn't take the time again to thank the Governor and Lieutenant Governor. How about a round of applause for our Lieutenant Governor as well. They have a great team of leaders all around them in their cabinet, public servants focused on the results and positive progress. I have to recognize Secretary Mike Keneally of Housing and Economic Development, Secretary of A&F, Michael Heffernan. These talented executives really do focus on what's best for the Commonwealth and its citizens and make great things happen. Never in the silo of their departments, but really working as a true team across all of state government. Key to that A&F team is Deputy Secretary Mark Attia. Mark, are you there? Now, public servant is a calling, and I can tell you Mark has spent nights, weekends, holidays, vacations, because during the same time that I was on nights, weekends, holidays, and vacations, working through the intricate details of 1331 Elm to make sure the project met and exceeded all the checks and balances you'd expect, and to be worthy of funding from the Commonwealth. I think he deserves a rousing round of applause. He's a good man. And so may we live in interesting times, as referenced by the governor. It's dutiful work with true public servants to serve the public, right? To listen, to understand the needs of citizens, and go to work on the citizens' behalf. Not for headlines, but to improve the lives of those citizens for the better. The next speaker embodies those principles and really does set a standard. So, quick story, and it was mentioned quickly about a funding source, tax credits. 4 years ago, the previous Congress put a tax reform package forward that awaited the president's signature. These were heated debates and divisive votes on that bill to work to protect citizens and make sure the bill would benefit all. The jury's still out on that one. In the midst of those debates and votes on this bill was Congressman Neal. So how does it pertain to 1331 Elm? The crafters of this bill had eliminated the federal historic tax credit. It was gone. It was to be eliminated. These historic tax credits are transformative in cities like Springfield. We're witnessing it today, making positive historic renovations happen throughout, and that's the Commonwealth and the whole of U.S. Congressman Neal led the charge, quietly, to restore the federal historic tax credit back into the bill. Literally at the final hour, the final minute, a photo finish. Seconds before the bill was due to report out for vote and off to the president's desk, the federal historic tax credit was back in the bill, with great credit, really all credit, due to our congressman and his allies who knew the value of this program, the jobs created, and the revitalization realized. A quiet man, he never sought recognition, never boasted for that headline for this, just did what he knew was right for the good of his district, the citizens and all. A true public servant. We're here today to celebrate because he took the time and energy to wage that good fight. My pleasure to introduce Congressman Richard Neal.
What metaphors you didn't use for the 2-minute warning at the bottom of the ninth. But thanks, and it's even better when it's true. That morning that the historic tax credit, New Markets tax credit, and the low-income housing tax credit were scheduled for elimination. It was in December of 2017. And I made the last plea that morning, and then I think most skilled legislators would do. I knew I succeeded in private, but I needed to have that public acknowledgement. So I used my question time that morning in front of the cameras as the bill was coming down in what we call a conference committee. And I asked the head of the Joint Tax Committee, what is happening to this right now? And I said, tell me what the status is of the New Markets tax credit. Tell me what the status of the historic tax credit. Tell me what the status of the low-income housing tax credit is right now. And he said, I knew the answer to the question. There's nothing wrong in public life with knowing the answer to the question as you ask it. That's really what good legislators and other elected officials do. So I said, Tom Barthol, a name you won't remember, but I said, Tom, where are they? And he said, Mr. Neal, they've been scheduled for elimination. And I spent my 2 minutes making the argument that they should be saved, knowing that they were scheduled for elimination. And lo and behold, even after the vote had taken place, they were put back in the tax package. So it's an example of how you use your time. So let me thank the governor, the lieutenant governor. I've worked with Governor Baker on this pandemic issue now for 5 months. We talk regularly. And we just submit this to you today that that's leadership. In addition to which, this following understanding, you are not going to get to economic recovery until you defeat the virus. That's the reality of it. I think the state's response on the virus has really been one that has drawn a lot of good acclaim. Mayor Sarno, terrific job keeping this project in front of the people of the Pioneer Valley. The development team, organized labor that you've assembled, this is a model once again as to how you can accomplish this significant outcome. But I also want to remind all of you, because you know my interest in the history of the Valley and my interest in the history of Springfield. So on the seal of the city, you have the Connecticut River, you have the railroad, you have the Springfield Armory, established by President Washington, and you have the meeting house right behind us. Old First Church. Always a reminder, this was the site of the Underground Railroad. John Quincy Adams was waked here, the only individual who served in Congress, the presidency, and then went back to Congress. He was waked in this church. John Brown attended services here, as well as St. John's Congregational on Hancock Street. This is the history of our city, Court Square. I actually voted for an industrial revenue bond to restore this building when I was a member of the City Council. That's how long this discussion has gone on. And this was the thriving center of the city's legal community for decades. You could get your hair cut right around the corner, you could get a cup of coffee. And by the way, Lenny the barber, if you wanted to know where the political shifts were taking place, stopped in to see Lenny. But if you were here in the morning, this is where the district attorney would have a cup of coffee. The best legal minds in Western Massachusetts would assemble here as well. The media hung around here because they knew there'd always be a good story that would be generated. And you look at the beauty right here of the registry, how spectacular that building is. It tells you about the commitment to architecture that our forebears made. This is a tough project, and when the governor was describing how hard it is after a building like this and of this age sits through winter upon winter upon winter, the damage is so substantial that I'm surprised that we made it to this moment. But it is the courage and perseverance of all of you. We're going to bring this back to life, and I think that 31 Elm is an extraordinary address for all the people of Western Massachusetts. So the commercial activity that will take place, the residential activity that will take place, and I hope that even beyond that, people will be reminded that this is where Springfield's heroes are acknowledged in Court Square. Every war that America fought, they are memorialized right here in Court Square. This is part of our history, and thanks to all of you, it's now part of our future.
Thank you so much, Congressman Neal. Great job as always, we really appreciate it. As was stated a few times, tenacity. Mayor Sarno stays on game, eye on the prize. Focus on priorities and gently and stubbornly ensuring they come to fruition for the good of the city. I've had the pleasure of working with him for the better part of 6 years now on 1331 Elm. There are dark days that felt like all was lost on this project. There were consistent obstacles, problems, challenges, and issues that made it feel like it was time to walk away. And he kept all of us grounded and focused on can do and make happen. Occasionally, there was his passion and his fluent Italian that comes with it. I remember one time, and maybe it was 20 times, that his passion rose and that fluent Italian boomed. He was looking directly at me, and I leaned over to Peter and I said, I'm not sure what he just said, but it's such a beautiful language. But he's clearly pissed off at you. It is my pleasure to introduce the great mayor of the City of Springfield, Domenic.
Buongiorno. Before we start, another big fan of our city and not only neighbors with downtown. We lost a great leader, former Mayor Billy Sullivan, who passed away at the 95, 96 years old just shortly. So if we just have a moment of silence, I know he looks down upon us with his eyes twinkling. Thank you very much. Governor Baker, I like when you said green, not only for the COVID-19, and you and the Lieutenant Governor have really been outstanding on that, but I also like the analogy of green when it comes to our continued partnership on continued projects here in the city, and I'll give you a little tease. The next one to come, and again I credit Governor Baker and his team, is that Civic Center garage, so we're working very, very hard on that. Okay, like, you thought I was going to say something else, huh? So, but this goes to show about friendships, mutual respect, partnerships, working together in a bipartisan fashion to get things done. I believe the City of Springfield and I believe the Commonwealth of Massachusetts are a shining example to our federal government. I'm not including Congressman Neal, who always works bipartisanly, on how to work to get things done. This is another project that the naysayers said would never get done in the City of Springfield. But under our team and my administration, this project, this bear of a project, is going to get done. And that is a testament to each and every one of the individuals that are here. So let me first start with my city team, from since retired Kevin Kennedy, Tim Sheehan, Chris Moskal, Tommy Moore, to our historic commission, Armando Feliciano, the SRA board, to our brothers and sisters in the building trades, which have worked at PLA on that, to my chief of staff, Tom Ash, who was on many of those calls, to Governor Baker's team, and Lieutenant Governor Polito's team. And believe me, I had him on speed dial on this and many other projects. Secretary Keneally, to Mike O'Brien, never say the die attitude, to MGM, which is living up to their commitment on the market rate housing with a $16 million investment. Let's give them a big round of applause. To my colleagues on the city council and Mike Fenton, I want to single him out because he was the lead and our liaison and conduit. We appreciate that. The public and private partnership. I mentioned MGM. Roger Crandall's here from Mass Mutual. 170 years, outstanding corporate citizen of the City of Springfield. All about relationships, being able to pick up the phone and to be able to move to close this deal, speaking to Roger and coming across. He knew how important, pivotal this project was. I remember being city council president and receiving a call. This is a very special day for Peter Picnelli Jr. from his dad, Peter Sr., who at the time was in Portugal, indicating what I could do from the council side to try to get this thing rejuvenated. People have talked about this project, rich history here. I know Tony Ravosa Jr. is here, Mr. Ravosa at the building. 30 years on this project. And it's finally come to fruition. And when you look at it, we worked with our state delegation. I know a number are here, but I want to give a special shout out to the assistant leader, Joe Wags, who was very instrumental in this, and then Congressman Neal. These tax credits are extremely important. Every dime counted. And our brothers and sisters in labor putting this together. But we never gave up, Mike. We never gave up on this project. And to the Wind Development, which we've done other developments here in the City of Springfield, there were some dark days. And there were some ultimatums that had to be made. But when I saw that ULI report, and I think it was council president at the time, the number one project to be done in the City of Springfield, not only for economic development, but for the psyche of the city, in the heart of historic Court Square, was 31 13 Elm Street. And I never lost sight on that. With the beautiful facade, glass facade of the Mass Mutual Center there, the historic remnants oozing out of here, to have this building next to $1 billion economic development project. But when you look at it, we're bullish here in the City of Springfield. You gotta be bold, you gotta be visionary. You have to have partners. You have to have relationships where your word is your bond. All these individuals here, and if I missed some, I'll use a Billy Sullivan line. It's a mistake of the head, not of the heart. All work together. All work together. So, when you listen to some of those people that said, you'll never get this done, we got it done. You'll never get Union Station done, we got it done. You'll never get a $1 billion development here in the city of Springfield, world-renowned MGM. We got it done. You'll never get the largest railway manufacturing company in the world with CRRC. We got it done. And we're going to continue to get it done, whether it's in downtown or our neighborhood areas, with a can-do attitude. So this is a very, very special day. And you're going to have a thriving Court Square area where you can celebrate the future and be able to live and learn from the past here at Old First Church. So again, to everyone involved, I want to thank each and every one of you for your stick-to-itiveness, because we worked very, very hard on this project. And I'd like to see if these types of relationships could permeate throughout not only the city, throughout the state, throughout the country, even if not the world. Because maybe this is not some of the serious issues that we're dealing with, but the way we worked this thing, even when there were trying days, we all rode in the same direction, and we got it done. And if we had more of that, mutual respect, bipartisanship, we'd get a lot more things done with everything that needs to be done to move our city, our state, our country, and our world forward. So to everyone, I could go on and on, but there's other speakers that are going to come up. Very, very special day, and I'll close with what Frank Sinatra would always croon: the best is yet to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tommy Ash, where are you? Tom Ash, the Mayor's Chief of Staff. He promised me the Mayor would be no more than 3 minutes, and I said, "You sure what?" He says, "Can you add a zero to that?" Good job, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much. And great work, obviously, for getting us here today. Your team does deserve so much credit, and I want to shout out to TJ Plant, the solicitor, Ed Papula, amazing work, Director Sullivan from Parks and Public Buildings, Director Signoli from DPW, your Chief Planner, Phil Dromey, obviously the City Council, your boards and commissions, and your staff. Everybody was business friendly, and recognizing that in the development world, that's important, right? You've got to be able to have predictability, and everybody worked hard in your team to protect the public's interest while facilitating progress. You really are, Springfield is a leader in that regard. I'd also like to recognize SRA's Peter Garvey. Peter Garvey's managing this current city project here, Jim Hanson from CBA. Great folks. Real sense of team here in Springfield. I think you've heard that team throughout. The City Council's Casino Oversight Committee was a constant force of positive in this process. Its chairman was fully engaged along with its members, holding hearings over my 6 years involvement in this project and asking the tough questions, getting the most up-to-date information for the citizens, obviously, and assist in any obstacle that or challenge that came our way. Again, working with the mayor, willing to be hands-on when necessary to keep the dream alive. It's my pleasure to introduce Councilor Fenton, a positive force of good that got us here today.
Thank you, Michael. What the mayor said was accurate. Many people said that this day would never come, that this project was too difficult, the building too old, the complications too much to overcome. But a leadership team emerged. Springfield's A team stepped forward. And those are the folks that we heard from here earlier today. Springfield's longest, most true, and most significant allies, Mass Mutual, MGM, Mayor Sarno, Congressman Neal, and so many others stepped forward. I'm proud to have played a very small role in this, and I'd like to highlight, again, as many speakers have before, some of the folks who've made this possible. First, I want to thank my colleagues, particularly those who are here today, Councilors Davila, Walsh, Gomez, and Allen. I'd also like to thank specifically former City Council President Orlando Ramos and current City Council President Justin Hurst for appointing me for 4 years to serve as chair of the Casino Oversight Committee after being Council President for 3 years. I want to thank the SRA, specifically Armando Feliciano, its chair, and his predecessor, Fiore Grissetti, Tom Ash, the Mayor's Chief of Staff, Ed Pacula, Tom Moore, and Chris Moskal, all for their extensive work on this project, along with all the other department heads who put in a ton of effort. The unions in the building trade, specifically Mike Langoni and his predecessor, Dan Dialma. I want to thank Mass Development, the Mayor's Economic Development Office, Tim Sheehan, and his predecessor, Kevin Kennedy, who always believed in this project as well. I'd like to especially thank the development team, most particularly Mike O'Brien and Michael Crawley. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the role that Peter Jr. and his family have played in the history of this site and getting us here to this day. Paul and Peter, your father's vision for this project is coming true today, and it's because of the collaboration that he always believed in for Springfield that's brought us to this moment. So thank you for your family's commitment. Now, I mentioned the A-Team and Mass Mutual, 170 years of partnership with the City of Springfield. Mr. Crandall's here today to represent that organization, and I can't say enough about the impact that it has on the City of Springfield and the region to know that we have you as a development partner, not just in this project, but in everything that goes on here in the City of Springfield. Thank you. To MGM and their team, Chris Kelly and his predecessor, Mike Mathis, Bill Hornbuckle, now the head of the entire worldwide organization, Frank Fitzgerald, Seth Stratton, Jose Delgado, and everyone else from that organization that came to assist. I'd like to conclude just by saying that the partnerships, as the mayor indicated, are really what brought us to this moment. The Governor Baker, thank you for your commitment and your administration's commitment, Lieutenant Governor Polito, for this project from the very outset, and most especially to Mayor Sarno and to Congressman Neal. When the naysayers said that this project going to get done, there was good reason. It's a very complicated project. We've gone through, Mayor. We've seen the animals and the existence that's been in there when it's open to the elements. And so, because of the mayor's stick-to-itiveness and commitment to this project, and Congressman Neal's tireless efforts in Washington, D.C., it enabled this partnership, this A-Team, to emerge. And it's really a proud moment for Springfield that we're able to accomplish this project together. So I couldn't be more satisfied with the outcome. I'm looking forward to a jaw-dropping experience, as the governor stated. And this is a story, one of collaboration, that is going to have a historic impact on this historic place. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Councilor Clinton, and to the entire City Council for your support and encouragement throughout this, even on virtual City Council meetings, which was a new experience for, I think, all of us. Great stuff. I also wanted to make note that Rick Sullivan's here from West Mass Economic Development Council. Very support of the project. I think he's here, but I did want to make note of a great friend and former neighbor of mine from Chicopee, and a leader of all great things here in Western Mass. He deserves a shout out to State Rep Joe Wagner. As co-chair of the development conference in the House at the time, he was a constant. He looked for creative measures and means to assess that funding gap at 1331 Elm. And both of us growing up in Chicopee, in the 70s and 80s, both families each around the corner from one another, we both believed Springfield was the capital of Massachusetts. Or at least the capital of Western Mass. So we both shared a continued love for Springfield and assistance. So thank you, Joe. As was mentioned earlier, Mass Mutual is a bedrock here of Springfield. Champion for their hometown, they are engaged as corporate citizens in the public schools and supporting various services in the city, volunteer efforts by their team on causes too many to mention.